people think they understand the education system because they were students once, but there's so much more to it, right? And you talk to any teacher for just 5 minutes and you'll learn like a whole nother world of what's going on. My name is Meenakshi Mukherjee. I am an 8th grade ELA and social studies teacher.
Now, had you done anything virtually before the pandemic? Were you in Google Classroom already?
Not in any formal and consistent sense. My kids had done online assignments. We had used, our district uses Microsoft Teams. And so my kids were familiar with accessing their Teams account, and they had submitted work that way. But I can't say that it was in a way that like, when this happened, we were like, yeah, ready to go.
Let's just keep going.
Yeah,
Right.
so it definitely has been a learning curve, and we're still learning. But yeah, so that was a bit of a changeover.
We hear also, and through our conversations with teachers and with families, that accessibility to technology has been an issue. In my own home, I have one computer that I try to share with my children. Are you finding that that's been a hurdle for your students, or for you to be able to get in contact with your students?
You're hearing this narrative across the country right now, right?
Yeah.
It's really shedding a light on not just like device access, but like internet access, like access to space even, just like, I mean, my husband is also a teacher, and usually he's sitting in that chair right now doing the same exact thing that I'm doing, and I had to like kick him out right now. So it's like, we don't have a lot, like this is the room we have in our house. And so,
Yeah.
and the same for our kids, right? I have some kids in my classes, I have a set of twins, right? And they're both on the classes at the same times. And so like you can hear one in the background. And so it's, I mean, there's a lot of things that people are working around right now. All of a sudden work and home are no longer separate. And again, going back to like pre-COVID, home has always impacted work. We just never really gave it as much consideration. But if a kid didn't have access to technology or internet pre-COVID, it wasn't at the forefront of our minds, and how that was impacting their family's ability to access education or school or classes. But it did, right? School announcements are on websites. Access to emails to contact teachers are on websites. So these are things that were impacting our families prior to, but now we are this is all of a sudden a priority for us, which is good, which is great.
Do you feel like the issues that appear to be new to the public are really not new, and they're just surfacing more now for other people to see?
People think they understand the education system because they were students once, but there's so much more to it, right? And you talk to any teacher for just 5 minutes and you'll learn like a whole nother world of what's going on and the struggles and what's actually top of mind for them and their coworkers and the staff members at their school and the families and kids. And so I do think that like some things that teachers have known for a long time are coming out, and people are trying to hustle to help find solutions. So yeah, I think in some ways, definitely.
We've heard conversations that we'll never go back to the way it was before pandemic. Can you describe what a teacher's role would look like in an ideal school system for you?
I've spent a lot of time these last few months like thinking about what is learning and what is an education, kind of with that understanding of like how do we re-envision what schooling looks like given everything that's going on. I think first and foremost as a teacher, the social emotional needs of my kids is always what comes first, and understanding that this is trauma that is being felt throughout our world, and that there's no member of our school community that is going to come back in the fall having not experience some sort of loss from this, whether it's a loss of a family member, whether it's loss of learning, whether it's loss of just time being in a space that is familiar and comfortable. And so I think focusing a lot on what do our kids need to help heal. And I think the second thing I think a lot about is, like, what have we learned about how our kids learn and what is truly important when it comes to instruction? And how do we not forget that when we go back? How do we make sure that student voices are centered? How do we make sure that instruction is responsive to the communities that you're working with? I am absolutely in the camp of we shouldn't go back to what like is normal. I am in the camp of this has been traumatizing, and how do we build a better tomorrow that really sees and values every member of our school community.
Most of the teachers we talk to are very humble, but they're putting in so many hours for their students. And what you've just demonstrated on this call is that you're spending all of your time thinking about social emotional needs of your students. You may not be trained in it. You're probably not trained in half of the stuff you do that's beyond the academic piece. I would like to recognize you today as a silent hero and thank you for everything you're doing for those kids and those families. It's people like you that really help us understand what's really important. And thank you for all of the extra hours that you've put in and for opening your heart to your students. We really appreciate you.